Welcome in to another edition of the Sandlot Dynasty League podcast. Coming at you on a Wednesday. Got a lot to talk about today. We're super excited for the podcast. A lot of stuff happened this week. You know, we had a lot of shakeups in the standings. The standings are really close. Survivor was really interesting this week. And we're going to talk about all of that. We're going to talk about some manager tendencies I'm really excited to talk about. And last thing we're going to hit on is trust or bust. So those are kind of some segments we're going to hit on today. But thankful for V again for setting all of this up. It's not easy. I see the behind the scenes of what he does, and it's really tough to do all this, and especially the fact that he lost all of his stuff this week. So V, thank you for producing this for our listeners who maybe listen for 10 minutes and then stop. But thank you. So let Van Way know that you're grateful for him, because I know I am, and all that he does for the podcast. So V, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get my camera focused.
Yeah. So I see all the work that goes behind the scenes, and it's probably too much work for what we do, but it's okay. So first thing I want to talk about today, while V's kind of still settling in, is Survivor.
I think we're good now.
Okay, we're good? All right, good deal.
Yeah.
And I'm in the background of both cameras here, so it's going to be fun. But first thing I want to talk about is Survivor. This week was an interesting twist. I think this was the first week that we had a blindside, maybe that one wasn't really expecting, and we had a true alliance broken, and maybe the alliance wasn't broken. I'm not too sure how it went down, but Van Way was voted out, and I know he was in an alliance with some people. So
yeah, Nate, well done. Well done. But now you got to win my vote, so
Nate, just from what Van Way said, Nate played the game really well this week. So,
I mean, really well or really stupid, we will find out, but we'll see.
So Van Way is voted out, and he had an immunity idol. That was the most interesting part of this week. Was he had an immunity idol, decided not to play it, and
yeah, Nate actually convinced me not to play it. You know, I was going to play it, but then I was like, there's no way I'll survive another week if I don't. And I thought I had the move. I thought I had Peyton convinced, and I thought I had John convinced to vote with me. And obviously, it did not go that way. So
yeah, so it was a good week. It was one I didn't see coming. And again, I'm not in the conversations that happen every day, but just from kind of the bird's eye view, didn't see this coming, and it was a surprise, but it's fun. That's what Survivor's all about. But going on to our next segment, we're going to talk about some manager tendencies. So I have a list of every tendency, a tendency from every manager. So at least one tendency from every manager. Van Way doesn't know what I've written down, but we'll see if he agrees with me or not. And I went down in order of the standings. So from 1st to 12th, I wrote down, like I said, a tendency for each manager, and I'm curious, Van Way, if you agree, disagree, or kind of your thoughts on these. So I'll say them, and then if you have any comments, go ahead and comment. If you guys agree or disagree, just let us know in the comments or send us a text. So first one for me, and I would say that this has been my tendency, because I've said this all along, is superstars win the league, and I always try to trade for superstars and just collect as many superstars as possible. And so that's my biggest tendency. Van Way, would you agree, disagree? I feel like I know what you're about to say, but
yeah, I feel like your tendency is stars and scrubs. I think that's a good way to kind of say that. You definitely have the star approach, getting Judge, Ohtani, but also like people are just giving. It's not like you just drafted those guys. People are definitely giving them to you, and I would obviously love to go that route if I was given the chance at Nate. Given the chance, I would go that route, but we're not all blessed with the ability to brainwash people in this league, so that's going to kind of be the way I think you're right. I think that's obviously your strat. I don't think that's been your strat the entire time. Just recently, as people have traded you their all-stars.
But I've said for a while now, and I know I've said that I think stars win the league, and obviously that wasn't true last year because my team was really good last year, and it didn't work. because it is fantasy. But
the year I won, I didn't have stars. So I had really good waiver wire additions. None of which I would call stars. I think, in fact, that year I traded my star, Vladimir Guerrero, away for depth, and that depth piece gave me, the chance to go ahead and win. So, I don't know. I may disagree or agree.
Yeah. So my next one is Stevie, and I put Stevie's manager tendency is anti-trading. I think Stevie's still early in the league where it's kind of hard to assess, a trade or the value of a trade, and he's scared that he's going to lose a trade or get fleeced, and I think that's kind of scared Stevie away from trading, and so I put Stevie's tendency is he's anti-trading.
I think that's fair. I think that's I don't think Stevie is super anti-trading as much as, like you said, he's scared to
get fleeced.
And I don't think he would ever get fleeced. I think he's just scared with it being a dynasty league. I think he puts especially a lot of thought into what could happen in the long term, and feeling that after. And you can tell by the way he runs his team, which is pretty conservatively. And I think it's kind of paying off for the short, as we can see right now. So I don't know. I don't know. I think everyone in the league is kind of scared to trade right now. I don't think there's been a lot of trades. It's kind of picked up recently. But not a lot of people are hit up my line, and I'm typically one of those guys that trade a lot, and I haven't had a trade this year. I'm also in love with a lot of my guys way too much. So it also, Luke's hit me up a few times, and I'm just like, dude, I just don't know any pieces I would kind of move. So I think the league as a whole is kind of doing this thing that Stevie has a tendency to do.
And to be fair, though, it's worked for him because he's tied for first place, and he was an expansion team last year. I mean, it's his second year, and he's already tied for first, and we're not even halfway through the season this year.
He's got plus 300 odds to win the chip. Oh, man, I'm just now seeing that under former champ. I didn't put the betting odds. Instead, I left that title the same. Oh, well, guys. You guys, I did this in an hour, which I'm actually pretty impressed. All of this production right now, done in an hour. So that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, I know I'm grateful and thankful, but just me. But maybe
while we're on this topic real quick, I just want to set the record straight. I don't know if anybody was thinking this, but this was definitely my biggest fear and biggest frustration, that you guys legitimately thought that I didn't do the production on Sunday because I got voted out. And I just want Jordan to also verify that is not the case. We tried the production. In fact, we spent hours on it while I had visitors at my house. So there was a valid attempt for production, but like Jordan said at the beginning, all my stuff got deleted off my laptop. So I was not playing petty. I was not like, I'm not doing the production if I get voted out. It was a legitimate excuse for no production.
I can confirm. And it is pouring outside right now, so if you hear any excess noise, it's because it is pouring outside right now. But I can confirm, Vanway, we tried for an hour, and I'm sure Vanway put more work in before I called him, and that had nothing to do with it. Vanway did not know anything, and I just told him the votes, and so he didn't know who voted who. He didn't know anything, just to keep the game as fair as possible. I didn't want, obviously, it's not fair if anyone had any advantage, so we tried to keep it as fair as we could, and Vanway agreed to that. But
yeah, but now I get to know everything.
But now, so now in the production aspect, I can tell him, obviously everything. So next one, it is, speaking of Vanway, Vanway's manager tendency is to trade for old, injury-prone, washed-up, former stud pitchers.
Yeah, I think pitchers is the key word because I really don't have interest in a lot of old hitters necessarily. But yeah, pitchers. But I've kind of explained my strategy on this earlier on in the podcast season. Just being that I think those are the guys that pitch later on in the year whenever you're looking at playoffs, if they're healthy. Obviously Jordan tagged on the injury-prone aspect, and that is definitely true. But, like, even guys like DeGrom or Scherzer and Verlander, not this year, because, I mean, they should be in a retirement home this year. But in years past, those guys always interested me because I knew they were going to be relied on in the postseason, and they would pitch. And that's kind of my strategy behind that, and I know it definitely comes off as I'm going after all the old heads, which is not necessarily the case, but I do love a good veteran pitcher that is relied on by his team.
I will say this really quick. I hope we don't lose power in the middle of this broadcast. That would be bad.
The computer would stay on, but we would lose everything else, so that would be interesting. I don't think we will, though.
I hope not.
We are risking our lives being in the second level of this. So.
Yeah. Next one.
Dedication to the pod.
Let me know what you think about this one, Banway. I put Luke, and I put subtly wins trades. Because I feel like Luke, he's made a couple big trades, but I feel like the ones that he makes that are not, like, for example, when he got Alvarez, like, not talking about that one. But, like, the one that comes to mind is, like, with Jacob Wilson. He just somehow finds a way to win trades. And I feel like that's kind of his tendency is he likes to make trades. And not trades that, not like superstar for superstar or anything like that. Like just the mid-tier trades. I feel like Luke always finds a way to win those.
Yeah, Luke's savvy. I think Luke's shown his savviness in the Survivor. My lisp is coming across the Survivor, challenge this year. He's savvy. He talks well to others, and he wins. He wins a lot of trades. He isn't a guy that you text and he's like, "Hey, this guy sucks. Give him to me." He definitely talks about the pros of the player. He also says why he wants them. One thing I appreciate about Luke, for the most part, he's pretty realistic. For example, I'll say, this player doesn't really give anything to my team, so as much as I would love to trade with you, I'm just not seeing it. And he's like, yeah, I totally agree. Like, if he was another position that you need, like, that would be a great deal. So I think he's a good trade partner for sure. Now, does that win him games? I don't know. It's yet to be seen. He fleeced me in a trade for Yordan Alvarez, and honestly, I don't know if, he hasn't been a difference maker for him yet. Now, McClanahan has yet to pitch since that trade 2 years ago. But, I mean, as a whole, does that win him championships? It hasn't yet. So, we'll see. I don't know if he definitely wins a lot of trades, but it's yet to kind of show in his overall production. But, I mean, he has brought a bottom-dwelling team to be a top-tier stand still.
Yeah.
Standing team.
Yeah,
so.
That's what I was going to mention too. Is I think because he's won all these trades, he took a team that he inherited from the bottom and has taken them to the top, and now he's tied for fourth, and he's only 4 games back of first place, and he's been one of our favorite teams rosters all year long. So
I mean, he's second in the odd standing, so
yeah.
that speaks for itself. I mean, obviously Jordan likes his team. I think a lot of people like his team. It's hard not to like his team because of a lot of young guys on it. But I don't. We'll see how it goes. I mean, he definitely has him going with the. I think the obvious missed tendency that Luke's done is no relief pitchers, and I still can't get on board with that. I don't know if that's helping him or hurting him. I wish I could kind of understand that more. I mean, I understand why he's doing it. If you can't get a top-tier guy, is it worth wasting a roster spot on him? It's just so against the norm. I don't know if it's good or bad. So,
I've gone on record saying I don't like it just because it cost me the playoffs potentially last year. If I would have had relievers, would my ERA have been better? Would my Ks have been more we could argue about this forever, and it's just, I mean, Luke's sticking with it, and I respect that. I respect it. And going on to the next person is Jared. I think we all know what I'm about to say here. I mean, Jared's like the pitching guru, so he always finds good waiver wire pitching value.
I obviously did not find good waiver wire pitching value this week. I have an ERA because of my streamers of like 20. And I have the best ERA in the league up until this week. So, Jared, maybe you need to give me some pointers in that realm. I don't know.
Yeah, Jared, I mean, it's like that's what, I mean, Jared's been known for as long as I can remember, is that he's always had good pitching. Just his offense is what, if he could have a good offense, then he could be a good championship contender. So,
I also think Jared is known for, more so than Stevie or any other Cubby in this league, that he wants the good Cubs players. So, and like he will trade for him too. So like if you stash a good Cubs player, like I tried to stash Moises or whatever his name is, simply because I wanted Jared to trade for him, and then obviously he went 0 for 12 in his major league 5 games, and they sent him back down. But Jared loves a good Cubby.
Yeah, and that, you know what? If we did this podcast 3 years ago and I did this segment, that would have been yours. You loved the Cardinals. Like, you love Cardinal players. You trade for Cardinal players.
I hate Cardinal players now, and I still have them on my team. But.
Yeah, and so now it's totally different. But this next one, I think you should just let me talk about this one, so you don't say anything and be too harsh on Nate's team. But for Nate, I put trades to superstars and somehow remains competitive, because that's what, like, his team is still competitive, and it's been competitive outside of, like, for the past couple years, except for 1 year. 2 years ago, I think, is when his team was not competitive. But like, he finds a way to stay relevant, even though like he has traded Bobby Witt and has traded Ohtani. But he finds value other places, and like if you according to Vanway, if you listen to Vanway, stars don't win the league. So maybe he's taking that approach. And here you've been making fun of the whole
stars
time.
don't win the league, but don't trade the best players in the league for nothing.
Can
we just go on record that Nate is the worst trader in the league? Is that a tendency? Because I think that he covers it. If we go through the trade history of Nate, can we rewind all the way back to, I'm going to throw a name out, and I wish I had the graphic. If I would have spent time and known this was coming, there would be a fat head of Pablo Sandoval on the screen right now. Can you recall the Pablo Sandoval trade?
Wasn't it for like Max Muncy and Yelich or something like that?
No.
It was something.
It was for Max Muncy, Christian Yelich, and there was a third player on that, and I cannot remember, like a third top tier player that was sent my direction. It was a pitcher, and I can't remember who it was. I mean,
I'm finding it.
That was bad. And then we have
okay. No, stop. It was just Christian Yelich and Max Muncy for Patrick Sandoval, not Pablo. Patrick Sandoval. That's what
exactly.
It was.
We don't even know his name. The dude has a career ERA of 7, and at the time I traded him. He was like, it was his first start. Like, he had no background or anything.
But
CBS was talking him up quite a bit, though.
I'm pretty sure that both of those guys you got, Yelich and Muncy, both sucked for the rest of that year.
Yelich got hurt, but he also was a perennial all-star.
He's fine now.
And I got something out of him, at least. Like, Sandoval was on the wire the next week, if not a few weeks after.
In the moment, it seemed bad, but after a couple weeks, it was.
And then we can obviously do the Ohtani, the Bobby Witt, the Trey Turner. I mean, can we just say he is bad at trading? Here is a tendency, and I'm not picking on Nate. Here is a tendency. If Nate hears something about a player, guys, you better be listening to all your podcasts, because if they're talking up a player and Nate's heard about it, you can get a haul for that player. Literally, potentially, Shohei Ohtani level haul. I don't know. Jordan, what are your thoughts?
I don't think he's a bad trader. I really don't. He got value with Corbin Carroll, and he's ahead. So he traded last year to Marcus, to myself, and to John. He's ahead of 2 of those 3 teams. So,
but he's ahead. But did he win those trades? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Well, agree to disagree. Next one going on, Logan. And I put transaction what's a transaction? Logan doesn't trade. He's last in waiver wire pickups by a significant amount. Logan just doesn't make transactions. And I think that hurts his team because he's got a really good team. Analytics love his team. But he just doesn't make a transaction. So
I will say that I think transactions are the biggest deal in fantasy. You can be a bottom-dwelling team and be average if you have solid transactions throughout the week. And I think Logan has the baseline of a really good team with 0 transactions equals a average team. And I think that's what he's been for the last couple of years. Now, I think Logan obviously cares and he's pays attention to his lineups and stuff like that. I think he is also kind of like Stevie and hesitant to make any move because he doesn't want to be on the opposite end of it. So I don't think it's a lack of participation. I think it's a lack of wanting. It's a conservativeness, in my opinion. I don't know.
I got you. Just scared to not get fleeced, but just scared to you don't want to be that guy that makes a bad move and drops a player or something like that, and then that player just goes off.
Here's an example. I will not trade with Logan because I know Logan isn't going to make a trade that he doesn't think he's winning. So, in my head, I know that I'm not going to win the trade, so why would I trade with Logan? And I'm not meaning that in any harsh way. I'm just saying Logan's a very analytical person who's thinking very, critically about the trade. And if that's the case, I know I'm not going to get the best end of the deal. I know he is probably going to win the deal.
I think you put it best. He's just conservative with trading, and I think that's the best way we could have put it. Next one for Clayton. Clayton's tendency is to be an emotional fantasy player. If Clayton has good weeks, he's riding high, feels good. Sometimes if Clayton's playing really well, I don't hear from him for a couple weeks. But when Clayton's playing bad, I hear from him about every day about how his team sucks, he's going to quit. I think that's Clayton's tendency is just an emotional player. And when things are going good, they're going good. When they're going bad, he's ready to be out of the league.
Yeah, I think that's accurate, and I obviously think he cares a lot. And I was so happy to see him win last year. I really was. I thought that was just so good for him and the league. And his team is honestly pretty good. I mean, it's pretty consistent levels-wise. He struggles from injuries more than I think any team in the league. I think Logan would be right behind him. Just bad draw of injuries, and I think he has a lot of injury-driven players, and that's obviously a part of it. Getting rid of Judge this year probably was an attempt to kind of avoid that, and Judge has been healthy, and when Judge is healthy, he's obviously the best player, the best hitter in the league. So I don't know. I think his success is dropping this year because of Judge, and Henderson hasn't played very well. So I think that is why he's kind of dropped. I think his team is still overall really good with his pitching. His pitching's top tier, definitely a top 3 team in the league in the pitching side. So I think he's going to obviously be a playoff contending team. I think the difference right now is Judge. I am happy and proud of Clayton for how far he brought his team from his first few years where they were really, really bad. So I am not hating on Clayton's team at all. I think it's still a pretty solid team. Just got to figure out if Henderson figures it out and plays like he's supposed to, I think his team rebounds pretty well.
I agree. I think that's been the biggest thing is Judge was that consistent bat when he was healthy, and now he just needs Henderson to do that.
And Trout's playing well. He just hasn't played.
Yeah.
This
next one, so I'm going to read you this next one. I have to make an emergency trip to the bathroom. It'll be quick. It'll be brief. But so for Marcus, I put trades – or no, I can't read. Marcus, this was what I put for Marcus. Quote, I'll give you a $100 gift card to McDonald's for a $5 bill. That's what I put for Marcus. That's his tendency. Is he's going to give someone a $100 bill he's going to give a person a $100 gift card to McDonald's for a $5 bill. That's about what he sees in trade value. So
I get to discuss Marcus why you take a bathroom break. Hey guys, this is live production. You can't even have a bathroom break. I don't know how Red Zone guy does it. He goes the entire 7 hours, so obviously Jordan wasn't prepared. I do think Marcus's team tendency is, if like you asked people what his team is known for, it would be one of two things. It would be the Mickey Mouse championship, which we talked about last week, or his text replies to trades, because a lot of times you get some interesting ones. My favorite thing from Marcus in this trade discussion is, hey, what do you think of? We'll use Ellie De La Cruz. No, because he's on his team. We'll use Aaron Judge as a extreme example. Hey, what do you think of Aaron Judge? Obviously, our reply to this is Aaron Judge is a top tier, probably the best hitter in the league. Marcus's response, probably, assuming,
he said,
yeah, I think he's getting old. Don't you think he's getting old? Kind of washed. Our response is, well, he's leading the league in home runs. Yeah, probably the last time he's going to do that. It's just automatically a negative view of the player he is trying to obtain, which makes it very hard to trade. But I will give Marcus credit. He has improved on this. I think he has improved. Would you give him credit of improving from early years?
100%. And I think where Marcus has improved the most is he's willing to negotiate. So if he sends a bat off route, and I'm like, that's not even close. Like
he brings it back to earth
talk.
pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Now the initial text has yet to get better. Normally that still blows your socks off. But if you continue the conversation, he is more willing to negotiate. I think he thinks, everyone is Nate, and they'll instantly be like, yeah, that's a pretty good deal.
That's great.
But I don't know. The first initial text normally will always catch you off guard, but he has improved if you get past that initial text.
I want to say one thing real quick. I know for a fact that 2 people watch the podcast. 2. Nathan and Peyton.
And they catch the most strays.
And you give Nate the most crap. He's probably the only one listening right now. Like, he's the only one that's listened this far, him and Peyton. And you just throw him under the bus.
Hey, Payne was at the Cardinal game last night. Shout out. He also had pretty good seats, first base line. He got to see Jack Caglione's first at bat, which was, I don't know if you saw it, Jordan. It was a smash. Luckily, Victor Scott is a Gold Glove center fielder and was able to ruin that. Has Stevie picked up Caglione yet?
No.
That just goes to his conservativeness, obviously.
I think that's the right move.
Yeah, I also think I am a big proponent of keep the prospect for 2 years no matter what. Just because you don't know the way prospects go up and down nowadays, you just don't know how long they're going to be up. So unless they're absolutely killing it, like last year whenever I had Woods, I was like, I'm going to keep him all year no matter what, because if you buy into the excitement too early, they could, send him down pretty quickly.
Yeah, he has not caught him up yet. Another thing that's kind of sad about, I love baseball. One thing that's kind of sad to me is the fact that they do paperless tickets. I think it's very convenient for the fan. It's very easy to scan your ticket in. But for example, my grandpa went to the game yesterday as well. I was like, hey, you got to go and get your ticket. And so the people he was going with, one of my cousins is a huge sports memorabilia guy. That's what he does on the side and makes a good living out of it. And so that's why they were going, was to get a ticket. And he had to he went through somebody who, I don't even know if the Cardinals give you tickets anymore.
So I can give you an insider track on this. So, oh my gosh, my hair. If you go down, obviously they've went even more digital since I've worked there, but they definitely still print at the ticket office. So in order to do that, they've made it almost impossible if you buy your ticket online to go down and get said ticket. But if you buy your ticket at the ballpark, you can go down, they will give you a very physical ticket. Now, there is a trick. Here's an insider trick. You ready for this, Jordan?
I'm ready.
If you buy your tickets through the St. Louis Cardinals and you go down to the box office and show that you have that you cannot load your ticket, they will print you a ticket so you can get in the ballpark after trying to help you. But a lot of times you can just convince them to give you a physical ticket. So if anybody's trying to get one.
I know that collecting tickets, I mean, we have John in our league who collects like home run tickets. I know that like that's something he does, and I think that's really cool. I think that's a really cool memorabilia thing, but I think it's kind of sad. Like two things that make me like the most, I don't know, like, hey, take me back to the good old days are one, I wish we could see batting practice. That was my favorite thing as a kid, was going to Busch Stadium and watching batting practice, or even going like whatever ballpark you were at, you could go and watch batting practice. And two, I wish they still did the paper tickets just for memorabilia perspective, where you get to collect them, and like going to see Jack Caglione. I mean, if he's one of the best hitters in the league for the next 15 years, I mean, that's something really cool to say, is you can say, hey, I have the physical copy of the ticket of his MLB debut. So
fun fact about batting practice, the Cardinals batting practice is actually done, so say it's like a 6:05 start time, it's actually done at like 2 o'clock. So they get in, get out, and a lot of them go in, shower, get fresh, and then visitors team batting practice will always happen right around gates open. So it's almost impossible to see Cardinals batting practice. Even so, a lot of times you get field passes, and you could come down. If you're in group consignments and stuff. A lot of times you can be on the field during batting practice, and sometimes you might catch the end of Cardinals batting practice. But yeah, it's almost impossible. But you can always catch a visiting team batting practice if you get to the gates as they open, if they take batting practice. Here is another insider thing, is they don't always take batting practice before games. So anytime rain is a possibility, they never take batting practice. And also Sundays during the summer, neither team opts to take batting practice. So there's just another fun fact.
I feel like I get there pretty early to games, and I feel like I've not seen batting practice in several years, and I get there pretty early.
And I'm telling you, I think batting practice is happening less and less. Like, whenever I was there, batting practice was far from a sure thing. So whenever you're kind of trying to get people to come to games and field visits, it's far from a sure thing. So I don't know if it's that or, whatever it is.
Yeah, kind of sad. But speaking of like John and his ticket memorabilia, here's what I put for John. Tell me what you think, what John's tendency would be. I put gets burned by his man crushes. Franco burned him pretty good. And then recently, Torkelson burned him pretty good. I think we could say that John's tendency is to finish top 3 in the league. But I wanted to go a little different out here and put he gets burned by his man crushes. So,
yeah, I think John's also tendency is making pretty good guesses on some players. I think John strikes gold quite a bit on some pitchers. I think he's in the know. I think John's tendency in the league. This is my and I know I'm dragging some of these on. I think John is a baseball fan, and I think that shows more than anything. I think John watches baseball every single night and knows these guys and their tendencies more than probably anybody in our league. And I think that kind of sums up his fantasy team, which is probably going to make this year a really long year for him. So,
we talked about transactions earlier, and the person who's in first place in transactions right now is John. And if he somehow makes playoffs, I think this could be a perfect correlation for our we believe in transactions method, because his team was in last, or his team was in 11th. Now he's in 10th, and he's made the most transactions. So if he somehow comes back, I think we can attest it to him not giving up, making transactions, because his team to start the year was really bad. And so now that he's made some transactions, made a couple trades, like, who knows? Like his team could find a way to make playoffs, and we could correlate to that. Preston's, I put finds a way to finish 500. I feel like Preston's always, except for maybe this year, it seems like he's trying to get a little younger. But that doesn't mean he's going to start losing. But Preston always finds a way to finish 500.
I got a better one. I think Preston always finds a way to roster 5 or 6 second basemen. That's when I think of Preston's team, I think of second base. I don't know if that's a correlation. I don't even know if that's reality. For some reason, and I don't even think he's on his team anymore, Ozzie Albies is, as soon as I think of Ozzie Albies, I think Preston has Ozzie Albies. So that is like, that's his franchise player. I don't know if that's even his best player or even still on his team. But whenever I think of Preston, I think of Ozzy Albies.
That's a good point. The last one we have.
Pretty random.
It is random. That's good. Last one we have Peyton. So you know how I said that Marcus bought that $100 gift card from McDonald's?
Yeah.
Well, Peyton kept that guy. And he was 0.3% rostered. So Peyton's tendency, it's a short sample size, but he keeps guys that are less than 10% rostered.
Now, I'll give Peyton some credit. I think Peyton... So here is where I've thought about this quite a bit. I think Stevie had an advantage being a expansion team over Peyton for the lone reason of he knew us. Like, we all know Peyton, but Peyton and all of our relationship is pretty new on like the really getting to know you level. Like we all kind of just knew of Peyton. We're like I went to church with Peyton my whole life, but I haven't like known his personality types and stuff like that. Stevie knew all of our personality types. He knew all of our like ticks. So I think Stevie had an advantage on how to compete against us. And I think Peyton has kind of had a learning curve on not only like the league, which is tricky enough, but also like our personality types and how to, take advantage of those personality types. Is that making any sense, or is you think I'm way off?
I honestly liked where you were going until you start talking about the personality types. That kind of confused me.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I might not be saying it right. I don't know if it's personality types. I think it's like I don't know how to explain it. Like I think Stevie has an advantage because he just knows us. Like he knows our ticks. He knows the general way of going about competing with us. And Peyton, I think, I'm not going to say he was intimidated because I don't want to say he's intimidated, but like I think like learning how the league works and learning how to kind of go about competing with all of us was a learning curve, and I do think he's figuring it out.
I know what you're saying, because like whenever the league first started, I didn't really know John Lannis, but like and I would say probably the same with Peyton. Like I knew Peyton, but like as we've gone on with the league, like now we've gotten a lot closer.
Yes.
I think,
yes.
But I don't think I know how you're relating this to fantasy, because like Stevie's like
Stevie. Here's where I'm tying it all in. Stevie had the relationships to be able to reach out to Luke and me and you and all of these people to ask for advice on moves or like ask for advice on. And so as he's building this foundation, Stevie is feeling comfortable enough to where he is corresponding with all of us. Peyton is kind of thrown into this, and I'm not saying he doesn't have those relationships with us, but he doesn't have that trust in us that, okay, these guys know what they're talking about. I think that is where I was more so going.
Yeah. I got you. I think it's a lot better now.
I agree 100%.
I think it's like we've been in the league our whole, like now I feel like Peyton and Stevie have been in the league the whole league's history. Like I know like yesterday when Peyton was at the game, like he sent me a text and like sent me some pictures of him at the Cardinal game. And I'm like, I love that. I love that like we're close enough now to where we have that relationship, and
his team needs to hit on a superstar. Like needs to. Yeah. And he's got to obviously hit from the waiver wire, because unless he's pulling off a massive trade with lots of picks, like I don't think he's going to get traded one. But like Tanner Bybee has been so good for his team because he needs that, right? Stevie kind of got blessed with, he drafted a few superstars in that initial draft. He got Jackson Merrill, he got Cole Reagans, like he got Sasaki. Peyton really needs to find a superstar, which it's like playing the lottery. You got to guess on the waiver wire. The best thing I've seen Peyton do so far, and I was so mad because I wanted him, was pick up Gavin Williams off the waiver wire after Luke dropped him. Gavin Williams obviously struggled this year, but like he's a young pitcher with great prospect pedigree. I think that is the type of waiver wire acquisitions that Peyton needs to take, because eventually one of those guys is gonna hit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So I looked at his prospect. His prospect is J.J. Weatherholt, and hopefully Weatherholt comes up and just rakes and is a superstar for him, because that benefit Peyton's team and that also benefit the Cardinals, and that would be really cool. So I think he's one star away from being really competitive. Like I don't look at Peyton's team now and I'm like, holy crap, he's not even close. I look at his team and I'm like, he's one piece away from having a really good team.
I think he's a few more than one piece, but we'll go with that.
One really good piece.
He needs some superstars.
Like if he had Aaron Judge, what would you say? Say his team's pretty good.
If PB had Aaron Judge, I think his team would be a mid to bottom tier team still. But because like when Peyton has bad weeks, he has horrible weeks. Like it's not like a one player can fix. But like he is relying on these waiver wire acquisitions that are like he's relying on them to be consistent, and that's just not something they have the ability to do yet. But if he can find 5 to 6 guys that can find that ability to be consistent, I think he can be good. Yes.
I think he's close. I 1-2 pieces.
He's headed the right direction.
Definitely trending up. But
also he could only go up. But we don't have to. We don't have to. We don't have to go there. But
you're not wrong. So let's just talk real quick. We were gonna do trust or bust. Let's just do that real quick. I'm gonna name you a player and their stats, and you just say trust or bust. Don't give a reasoning why. Just say if you trust them or you think they're gonna be bust.
I might give a quick reason, but
quick. Okay. First one. So I'm gonna give you player's name and then their average on-base percentage is slugging in this OPS plus. Okay? PCA, currently batting .281, .319, .562 with a 148 OPS plus. You trust or bust?
I mean, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but I do not trust PCA long-term. I think he's a great option for steals. Long-term, as like a superstar, do not trust. Long-term, as a player that can definitely help you, trust.
Okay. Next one. Do you want to switch the? I was just looking at the screen.
Oh yeah, my bad.
No, you're good. No one's listening right now anyway, so.
Okay.
No. So anyway, next player while you're doing that.
There we go.
Looks good. Jacob Wilson kind of emerged on the scene. He is batting .355, .393, .504 with a 152 OPS plus.
Okay, I'm not playing favorites. I'm just saying I trust Jacob Wilson because his dad was also a guy who raked. I do think he's a one-trick pony. I will say that, but in a categories league, I think your team will only benefit by having a guy like Jacob Wilson, strictly because he's going to hit the ball. And a lot of times, he's going to hustle and leg out doubles. He's got speed. So I think only positive things come from him. I don't think he gives any pluses in the power category. But overall, I trust Jacob Wilson.
All right, next one. Cal Raleigh. Batting .259, .374, .625 slug, and a 189 OPS plus.
There was something interesting about Cal Raleigh, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. He changed something this year, or he went to someone you might know, and I don't. But he made a change this year, and obviously it has helped him. But he was already a really good catcher, so I think he's the number one catcher for sure, and I trust him. I think the only other catcher that had that kind of hype was Rutschman, and I think he's went way down. So I definitely am trusting Cal Raleigh.
Next one, another Cub with a similar,
Shaw.
No, it's Seiya Suzuki. So Seiya Suzuki's batting .265, .327, .552,
I love
148 OPS plus.
Trust. I love Seiya Suzuki. I think he's just a hitter. There was a guy from the Astros, Yuri Gurriel, just a hitter. Guys like that are just hitters. Castellanos, hitter. I would say Suzuki is that same type of player. He's just a hitter. He does get hurt every now and then. I don't know how old he is because he's a Japan player, but I would love to have him on any team I possibly could.
All right, two more. This one's I'm curious to see what you think about this one. Lawrence Butler, batting 263, 332, 470 slug, 124 OPS plus.
He kind of reminds me of Luis Roberts, only actually playing well. Luis Roberts is a skeleton of himself, but kind of that same projection, same profile. I like him. I think he's young. I think he's exciting. I would love to have him on my team. I think Luke's got a really good player there.
And then the last one, this guy's kind of had a breakout season on a really bad team. But Ryan O'Hearn, he's batting 335, 423, 538. He's got 178 OPS plus.
I think the best thing that can happen to O'Hearn is to get traded. I think which luckily Mayo has not looked good at all. But I think having Mayo, a pretty high prospect sitting behind you, could give some, maybe that's why he's playing so well. Maybe he knows he has to play well. I don't know. But I think that team's crowded. So I'd love to see him get traded to I don't know. I don't know who would be a good fit for him. Boston? I think Boston would be an awesome fit for him. They need a first baseman. They have... Who's playing first base for them? They put Campbell there. He's obviously not a first baseman.
Casas plays there, I think, every once in a while.
Casas is hurt, so... He's on the 68-day IL. I don't know if he'll ever play again. If you see that injury, it's pretty gruesome.
Who was it? No, I was just watching their game before I came here when they were playing the Angels.
Also, your boy that you traded to Stevie got hurt last week too. So Boston's down. What's his name? No, you just traded him.
I didn't trade to Stevie. Nate?
No, Stevie. He played for the Astros last year. It starts with a B. Gosh dang it. Look it up. He's on Stevie's IL. Why am I blanking on his name?
I traded? Are you sure?
Bregman. It's Bregman.
Before the season started. Okay. I was I didn't recently just trade. So I traded away Bregman, hurt. I just traded away Luke Weaver.
Hey, tell me this isn't the curse of their boy Jose. What's his name? Jose. He's on Jordan or Logan's team. The third baseman
Ramirez?
No, not Jose then. The third baseman for Boston that had this whole drama. What was his name?
Oh, Devers.
Rafael Devers. Tell me this isn't the curse of Rafael Devers. They'd say, you are no longer a third baseman. He says, I will no longer, if you want me to be a DH, I'm just never going to play the field again. And I'm going to be petty about it. And now every position that he possibly could play, their position, they are getting hurt. And this man literally will not play the field for them. So that's an interesting development.
I think they should trade him to Philadelphia. That would be a great fit.
Holy cow, yeah. That would be phenomenal.
So that kind of, unless you have anything that you want to say about the league, I know we've probably gone long, but
actually short. We're short.
Are we?
Yeah.
What's it been?
48 minutes.
Shoot. Well, I guess we could talk about standings for 3 minutes. Stevie, it's good. I'd like to see Stevie up there because, as a commissioner, and I feel like I have been judged on how the expansion draft went. And so seeing Stevie at first helps me believe that the expansion draft was a success. It's kind of hard because on the devil's advocate says, well, the other team's in last place. So, but it's good to see Stevie tied for first. Just because I wanted the expansion draft to go as smooth as possible, and I think it did. I think we honestly did the best we could with the given the scenario and given the expansion. I think we did as best as we could, and so I think it's good to see him at first. But yeah, between first and ninth place is only 13 categories, and that's a 2-week makeup. You go 8-4, 9-3. You're if you're in ninth, like Marcus is in ninth place right now, and he's only 13 games back to first.
Yeah, so. I think if we're talking about that, I think the number is 15 categories. If you can stay within 15 categories until the trade deadline, I think you're a part of the conversation. If you're past 15, come trade deadline, I think that's a pretty hard makeup. So
you think? So John's at 21 right now. We'll see.
If he can get to 15 by the trade deadline, I think he has the ability, because that's within 15 games of this. I think within 15 games of sixth place he could get in, because that's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's a team struggle. Now, is it likely if you're within 15 games at the trade deadline of 6th place? Probably not likely. I mean, your odds are pretty low. But if you're within like 10 games of 6th place, I think you have a realistic chance.
So I'm just going to put it into perspective. The trade deadline is August 4th. Okay, so that seems like a long way away. So the trade deadline is August 4th. After the trade deadline, you only have 3 weeks left.
But here's what the problem is teams like John's cannot get beat big. They can't really even get beat. But like one more 10-2 matchup, that could kind of bury you. And that's kind of, I remember being in this spot last year where I was hovering around, 10 to 15 games away from like a playoff contention spot. And then I got beat 11-1. And that just kills everything. So like, if you're in one of those positions, you just have to consistently keep it around 6-6 or make some ground up by winning some weeks big.
I think it's just all like that's why fantasy sports is so fun and also just maddening because like you can be a buyer at the deadline and then the guy you bought for gets hurt or you have a bad week where you lose 10-2 and you're like, well, there you go, I'm out and I just was a buyer for no reason. So yeah, again, our league is competitive and like I do think my team is the best, but I'm not a shoe-in to win every week. Like it's not like I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go undefeated because I'm not. I'm beatable and like Stevie and I are tied for first. You're 2 games back. Luke and Jared are only 4 games back. Like it's competitive and that's fantasy sports and that's the blessing and the curse of the head-to-head. Like if this was a roto league, I would feel pretty good about my odds. But because this is head-to-head, like anything can happen in a week of head-to-head matchups. So just kind of how it goes. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoy the podcast. If you're still listening, we appreciate you very much. Send us a text. I know we have at least 2 listeners, but surprise us. So with that being said, we'll see you guys next week.
Hey, we'll see you guys
on Sunday, actually.
Sunday. And I'm voted out, so we'll see who will be voted out on Sunday.